Imagine living in a world where marriage was never just about two people. A world where a wedding could stop a war, unite kingdoms, create powerful alliances, settle disputes that had lasted for generations, and even determine who would rule an entire nation. Across ancient Africa, marriage was far more than romance. It was the foundation of society itself. Long before colonial powers arrived with foreign laws, religions, and customs, African communities had developed sophisticated marriage systems that had evolved over thousands of years. Every ceremony carried deep meaning, every gift exchanged symbolized responsibility. Every family understood that a successful marriage strengthened not only two individuals, but an entire community. Yet today, many people assume African marriage before colonialism was simple or primitive. Nothing could be further from the truth. From the deserts of the Sahara to the rainforests of Central Africa, from the kingdoms of West Africa to the Great Lakes region, marriage traditions were incredibly diverse, highly organized, and deeply respected. Some ceremonies lasted several days. Others stretched across weeks or even months. In some societies, a marriage wasn't considered complete until entire villages had celebrated together. In others, the ancestors themselves were believed to witness every promise exchanged. These customs shaped the lives of millions for centuries. Today, we journey back through time to discover how marriage truly worked in ancient Africa before colonialism transformed the continent forever. Prepare to uncover traditions that may surprise you. Because the Africa you are about to discover is very different from the one most history books describe. To understand marriage in ancient Africa, we must first understand something fundamental. There was no single African culture. Africa has always been home to thousands of ethnic groups, each with its own language, traditions, beliefs, and customs. The Maasai viewed marriage differently from the Yoruba. The Akan had customs unlike the Zulu. The Igbo developed traditions unlike the Amhara. The Berbers of North Africa practiced marriage differently from communities deep within the Congo Basin. Yet despite these differences, many shared common principles. Marriage was viewed as a union between families rather than simply two individuals. Love was appreciated, but commitment, character, respect, fertility, cooperation, and responsibility often carried greater importance. When a young man wished to marry, he rarely approached the woman directly without involving both families. Instead, respected elders played an essential role. The process often began quietly. A family member, uncle, elder, or trusted intermediary would visit the woman's family to express interest. These visits were never rushed. Conversations might continue over several meetings. Families discussed values. They learned about each other's history. They asked questions about character, reputation, and ancestry. They wanted to know whether both families shared similar moral expectations. A marriage was expected to last a lifetime. Choosing wisely mattered. Far more than personal attraction. Entire communities had a stake in ensuring successful unions. In many regions, everyone knew everyone else. A person's honesty, work ethic, generosity, temper, and respect for elders were already well known. Reputation was often considered one of the greatest forms of wealth. Someone known for laziness or dishonesty found marriage negotiations much more difficult. Character opened doors that money alone never could. One of the most misunderstood aspects of traditional African marriage is the practice often called bride price or bridewealth. Modern audiences frequently misunderstand its purpose. It was never intended as purchasing a woman. In many African societies, that idea would have been deeply offensive. Instead, bridewealth symbolized appreciation and responsibility. When a daughter married, her family lost an important member of the household. She had contributed labor, knowledge, care for younger siblings, farming, craftsmanship, food preparation, and countless other responsibilities. The groom's family acknowledged this contribution through meaningful gifts. Depending on the region, these gifts varied enormously. They could include cattle, goats, sheep, gold, salt, iron tools, fine cloth, beads, palm wine, livestock, grain, or handcrafted items. Among cattle herding societies, cows held tremendous symbolic value. A herd represented prosperity, security, and future growth. Giving cattle demonstrated that a man possessed the ability to support a family. Among trading kingdoms, gold, textiles, or imported goods might play the same role. The exchange strengthened relationships between families. It created mutual obligations. Both families now had a shared interest in the success of the marriage. If conflicts arose later, relatives from both sides worked hard to restore harmony rather than encourage separation. Marriage became a community investment, not merely a private arrangement. Contrary to common stereotypes, women often possessed significant influence during marriage negotiations. In many societies, mothers, grandmothers, and respected elderly women held tremendous authority. They evaluated the prospective husband, observed his behavior, investigated his reputation, asked difficult questions. Sometimes they rejected proposals outright. Among several African cultures, a woman's consent was essential. Parents could recommend, elders could advise, families could negotiate. But forcing unwilling marriages was often discouraged because unhappy unions threatened the stability of the community. Different societies handled this differently, but many recognized that cooperation between husband and wife formed the foundation of household prosperity. Wise elders understood something modern psychology also confirms: a successful marriage requires mutual respect. Not fear. Not coercion. Not domination. The wedding ceremony itself reflected the values of each community. Music echoed through villages. Drums announced celebration. Songs praised families, ancestors, courage, generosity, and hope. Women danced in colorful garments woven with extraordinary craftsmanship. Men displayed traditional attire representing their heritage. Children laughed. Elders offered blessings. Food was prepared in enormous quantities because hospitality demonstrated abundance and goodwill. Guests sometimes traveled for days to attend. The joining of two families deserved celebration. Some ceremonies involved symbolic sharing of food. Others included pouring libations to honor ancestors. Some required blessings beneath sacred trees. Others featured ritual washing with water representing purification and new beginnings. Across countless cultures, marriage was never simply signing a document. It was a sacred public commitment witnessed by the living, remembered by future generations, and believed by many to be blessed by those who had come before. Ancient African societies also emphasized preparation before marriage. Young people were not expected to enter adulthood without guidance. Many communities organized periods of education where older women instructed girls about family life, childcare, agriculture, health, conflict resolution, and household management. Likewise, experienced men mentored young men in leadership, farming, protection of the family, financial responsibility, craftsmanship, and honorable conduct. Marriage was viewed as a lifelong responsibility that required wisdom, not merely emotion. Parents believed preparation reduced future conflict. Knowledge created stronger households. And stronger households created stronger communities. This philosophy became one of the foundations upon which many African civilizations flourished for centuries. Little wonder that travelers from distant lands often remarked on the order, discipline, and social cohesion they witnessed throughout many African societies before colonial rule reshaped the continent. The story of African marriage is not merely a story about weddings. It is a story about civilization itself, and as our journey continues, we will discover how different regions of Africa developed remarkable customs, from the cattle traditions of East Africa to the royal marriages of powerful West African kingdoms, from matrilineal societies where inheritance followed the mother's line to communities where queens, mothers, and female elders played decisive roles in choosing future leaders. Their traditions reveal a continent of extraordinary cultural richness that deserves to be remembered.